Hello learners, I am Professor Munish Kumar Bhardwaj, and today we will discuss in continuity of our last lecture, which was on safety in underground works. So last time we discussed some of the things regarding the safety in underground works. If you remember, I discussed with you the challenges in underground construction, then what are the risks in underground construction or underground works. Then I discuss with you safety initiatives that are taken at international as well as at national level. And also I discussed with you the general safety provisions. So in continuity to our previous discussion, I'll discuss some of the things related to underground works basically, which are affecting the safety of the personnel as well as the safety of the project. So today we will begin with the recap of some of the IS codes which are related to that safety in underground works basically. If you remember, I discussed with you some of the codes. A few of them are here. IS 4756 1978 safety code for tunneling work. Then IS 3764, which is safety code for excavation work. Then IS 4081 1986, which is safety code for blasting and related drilling operations. Then another one was IS 4138 1977, which is safety code for working on compressed air. And then IS 7293 1974, which is safety code for working with construction machinery. So these were a few of the important codes basically, which are related to the underground works basically. And if we follow the guidelines which are given in these codes, then we can make our underground construction works safe basically for the workers, which is very important because every life is valuable. Even if there is no casualty, then there may be impairment which may make a worker helpless throughout the life. So we have to be very careful. We should worry about the safety of the workers. Basically, it is not only helpful for safeguarding the workers, this is also to ensure the timely completion of the project basically, and also saving money, because if accidents are there, then certainly there will be the cost overruns. So this is important basically. Now let us discuss safety in excavations. What is the problem with excavation? How it is important? How risky it is? That we will see here. So what are the risks in excavation works basically? And during the excavation, there may be a collapse of the soil and burying or injury of the workers may be there basically. So why this is important? If soil is collapsing, if our excavation is collapsing, if our trenches are collapsing, then how this become challenging? You can easily understand this thing from the weight of the soil basically. That 1 cubic meter of the soil weighs around 1700 kg. 1700 kg, 1.7 ton. So if the workers are buried under this soil, simply under this soil, so 1 cubic meter of soil weight will be 1.7 ton. So this much of weight, under this weight, and this is I am talking about only 1 cubic meter. If you take 2 cubic meter, multiply it by 2, then 3400 kg. So person cannot take that much of load, that much of weight basically. So there will be some problem. There may be even the casualties basically. So this is very important that during the excavation there should not be any failure of the soil basically, no soil collapse should be there. Then there may be chances of material falling from sides into our excavation. Means if we are excavating basically, so in that excavated soil, in that channel that has been created after excavation, so some material may fall into that. And when the workers are working in that channel basically, or that underground work basically, so it may hit those persons. So it may cause injury to them, which may be fatal even. Then next is the people or plant falling into excavation. That if proper safeguarding is not done of the trenching work that is going on there, so some person may fall from ground into the trench, or some plant, our machinery, small machineries and plants that are working there, this they may also fall into the trench basically, injuring the workers there. So one has to be very careful about these things, that there should not be any collapse of soil, there should not be any fall of any material or person or any plant or machinery into our excavation or into our trenches basically. Then next is the inflow of ground and surface water. There is a possibility that there is some ground that source of water is there nearby our excavation, or there may be that water table is very high. So during that excavation, if we hit that water table, then water may come out suddenly, and because of that flooding may be there. And if the workers are working in a deep trench, and if they get trapped into that water, so there may be some problem to the workers basically. So we have to be careful that before doing excavation, we should know that what is the, at what depth the water table is there, whether we'll be hitting that water table during our excavation, or if some water source is there very nearby to our excavation basically, or trench. So first find out that will there be any chance of water coming into the trenches or in our excavation area. If it is there, then we have to make some arrangement that water should not come into our excavation area or into our trenches basically. Then next is toxic gases. This is also very important. When we are excavating deep basically, so there may be some pockets inside the ground basically which are having some toxic gases. So proper survey should be done basically, and care should be taken if there are chances of having some toxic gases in that area basically. So proper mask, filters should be there, which the workers wear while they are doing this excavation. Similarly, if some explosive gases are also there during in that area inside under the ground basically, so there may be that while doing that excavation, when we are doing deep excavation especially basically, so some explosive gases may come out basically if some pocket is there in the ground basically. So that explosive gases may come out, and after mixing with the air and oxygen, there may be some explosion basically, so which may injure our workers. So we have to be very careful before doing the excavation basically, that to know the possibility of any water source or nearby surface water source, or any toxic gases or any explosive gases, such type of things basically we have to think about basically. Then any type of excavation which is carried out more than 1.5 meter of depth, or a tunnel, either you are doing the open excavation if it is deep more than 1.5 meter, or if you are doing a tunnel excavation, you are doing the tunnel boring basically, these works are considered as the high risk construction works, and proper care should be taken while doing such type of work. Such type of work means work more than 1.5 meter depth or tunneling work. In both the cases, one have to be very careful. Then what safety precautions we can take while doing such type of work basically? First is planning of the excavation work. Planning, as I told you, that we have to worry about, we have to think about the things which I discussed, that possibility of any groundwater source, possibility of any toxic gas, possibility of any explosive gases, like all these things basically. So we have to plan it properly. There may be also, in addition to that, some toxic contamination of the soil basically, because of some material, toxic material earlier dumped in that area, and now when we are doing that excavation, so this contaminated soil may harm or injure the workers basically. So keep after knowing after doing this such type of survey, then we have to plan that what we have to do, where to start, how to start, what machineries has to be pressed into that work, and whether it is a manual working, whether it is a machine which will be working there, and where we'll be keeping our excavated earth. All such type of things has to be planned in advance basically. So in that planning, as I told you, that what method of excavation we are following, method like manual excavation, whether we are going for manual excavation or we are going for the excavators, which are the machines basically. So or whether it's a open excavation or it is a tunnel basically. So for such type of things we have to take care, and accordingly, because for different situations there will be a different challenges and different precautions have to be taken, so we have to plan accordingly. Then we have to think about the type of support work, what support work will be needed when we are doing the excavation. Because when we are doing excavation, and for example, in case of open excavation, what happens that when we are digging the trenches basically, so after a certain depth, soil cannot stand vertical by its own basically. It needs support, otherwise it will cave in. The soil around the trenches from both sides of the trench will cave in basically, and it may injure, it may pose a problem to the workers basically. It will hinder the working, as well as it may injure the workers basically. So in such cases we need some support system. Support system means that these vertical walls of the cut do not fall inside basically into the cut basically. So to avoid that, we do the sheeting, and we put some bracings also. So these all such arrangement have to be planned in advance, that what we will need in case of that deep excavations. So some arrangements like shoring, sheeting, and then putting wire mesh, then rock anchoring if there some rock and boulders are there, so that rock anchoring can be done. Wire mesh can be used to support that all these boulders and that soil basically. So such type of things we have to plan. We have to accordingly, we have to procure the material and supply that material at the site, and we have to do such type of support system, make the support system, so that there is no collapse of the soil basically, to avoid that collapse, and to avoid any chance for the injury to any workers basically. In addition to that, basically we have to check the stability of the ground, because every soil has its own characteristics, and different type of soil are stable at different angles basically. So we have to see that at what angle a particular soil is stable. So at site we have to see that what type of soil it is, because different type of soil stay stable at different angle of the slope. If we make the slope more than that basically, then certainly it is going to fail, that slope going to fail basically. So we have to find the characteristics of the soil there at our site where the excavation is to be done, and accordingly we have to analyze that what slope will be stable, and we should not go more than that natural slope basically. We should not cut at a slope more than that the natural slope at which the soil is stable. So such type of things we have to plan in advance, and we have to convey these things to the persons who are engaged in excavation there. Then supervisor will supervise that excavation and tell the workers that you must do these things for the proper safety during the excavation. Then assessment of effect on adjacent or nearby buildings. This is also very important, because you are doing excavation in your property, but if you are doing excavation more than the depth of the adjoining depth of the foundation of the adjoining structure, then it will affect the excavation in your property, will affect the adjoining structure basically. So we have to see that how the adjoining structure or the building is going to be affected when we are doing excavation in our own property basically. And if the adjoining structure is going to be affected, then we have to take proper care, because if you are not taking the proper care, then what will happen? There will be damage to the adjacent building, for which we have to pay. In addition to that, there may be some injury or casualties to the workers as well as to the users of the adjoining structure. So this is very important aspect. So we have to worry about that adjoining structures, any building, any roadways, and we have to worry about that horizontal and vertical movement due to soil relaxation and lowering of the groundwater. Because when we are excavating, what happens that where the soil which is in our property, that is giving support to the adjoining structure also basically. When we are excavating that soil, then this soil underneath the adjoining structure is not able to take the load safely, because this load distribution is not vertical. Load distribution is basically in an inclined manner basically. So the load due to the adjoining structure is coming to the soil which in our property also basically. So when we remove soil from our properties, then it is going to affect the adjoining structure certainly. So we have to analyze that due to the soil relaxation, or there may be a chance of, because of that excavation, there may be a chances of lowering of that water table also basically. So because of that change in the depth of the water in the soil also, it changes the properties of the soil basically. So because of that, its strength may change. So it may not give proper support to the adjoining structure basically. So all these aspects we have to see while doing the excavation basically, so that because of the excavation in our property, the adjoining structures or the buildings are not affected. So proper care has to be taken. A general thumb rule is that for loose sandy soil, this load distribution is 3 horizontal to 1 vertical. Means if we excavate 1 meter, if we excavate vertically 1 meter, then it is going to affect in horizontal side basically 3 meters of the length basically. So if we are excavating 2 meters vertically, then it is going to affect horizontally in the adjacent area up to 6 meters. So we have to think, we have to take proper care, that we have to take care of that load distribution, that because of that adjoining structure, up to what distance that load distribution is going to occur basically. And we have to take proper care while excavating even in our own area. So as I told you that for loose sandy soil, this load distribution occurs 3 horizontal to 1 vertical in that area, and for otherwise we have to be very careful up to 1 vertical to 2 horizontal. Means if we are excavating 1 meter deep, then we have to take proper care that our trenching or digging or excavation is at least 2 meters away from that adjacent building. So this if we take proper such type of consideration, then we can make our excavation safe basically. Otherwise we have to take, if we have to do the excavation, because in our property we have to fully utilize our property, so we have to dig basically, or we have to excavate the soil up to that last line basically, or property line, then okay, we can do that. But for that we have to provide proper support to the adjoining structure, so that there is no crack or any damage to the structure basically. Then next is that position of the public utilities, such as underground sewers, gas pipelines, water pipelines, electrical conductors, means electrical wires, cables that may cause danger during work, should be verified before commencement of work. So where we are doing our excavation, we have to take proper care, and we must know that in that area whether any utility, whether any pipeline, whether water pipeline, sewer pipeline, any communication cables or electricity cables, such type of things are not there. If they are there, we have to take proper care while doing the excavation. And there may be a need of relocation of such public utilities, that we have to excavate for our construction. If we have to excavate deep, more than the depth at which these public utility things are there, then in that case relocation has to be done. So after knowing that, before excavation, we must know that whether such type of things are there inside the ground. If it is there, if our depth of excavation is more than that, the depth at which all these utilities are there, then we may plan for relocation also. Then one very important rule is that when we are doing the excavation, then we must take care of the three things. One is slope. As I told you that the different soils stay stable at different natural angle basically. So we must know that what are the properties of the soil, and what is the natural stable slope basically. So we should try not to cut beyond that basically. So proper slope should be maintained. If we maintain the proper slope, then this slope failure will not be there, collapse of soil will not be there. Second is there that if we have to cut deep or more than that angle, then we must plan for shoring. Shoring means providing the support to the cuts basically on both sides. We will be providing the sheets, and then we will be providing bracings across the trench to support the sheeting on both the sides. So that is called shoring basically. So that shoring has to be done if we are doing for vertical cuts. Then third thing is basically in this graph sequence, shield it. Shield it means that we have to provide a proper shield to our workers, that we have to provide a safe environment or the safe working space for our workers to whenever we are doing trenching or excavation in the ground basically. So three things we must ensure, that properly slope it, shore it, and shield it. Sides of the excavation should be thoroughly inspected, and these safety measures should be taken basically. This is the meaning of this. Now shoring and shielding, that I just told about you, that what are these basically? These are the protecting systems which are used when the location or depth of cut makes sloping back to the maximum allowable slope impractical. Means that, as I told you, that there is a limit to the stable slope for different type of soils basically. Then if we are trying to make some vertical cuts or at angle more than that is stable slope basically, in that case we have to this shoring and shielding basically. Shoring is for avoiding any collapse of the soil, and shielding means protecting our workers which are doing the excavation. So these two things we must ensure to safeguard our workers. So till now we discuss about that what are the challenges when this excavation or that working underground is called high risk. Just to recap, this high risk uh, underground work is categorized as high risk if the depth of excavation is more than 1.5 meter, and also it is risky. Any type of tunneling is risky basically. So then what precautions we must take, how we can make our excavation process safe. So we discuss about that, and I hope you will go through your course material, and you may come with some more interesting questions during our next lecture, when we will discuss the remaining part of this discussion. So thank you.